Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a place that is rapidly shifting from an isolated, frozen wilderness into, well, an absolute geopolitical powder keg. The Arctic represents one of the defining global challenges of the 21st century, and honestly, understanding it is absolutely crucial for our future. So here's the big question setting the stage for us. What actually happens when the world's most isolated ice begins to melt? I mean, as climate change radically reshapes the landscape, that melting sea ice is suddenly revealing things that have literally been hidden for millennia. We're talking about a completely inaccessible wilderness that is now squarely at the center of a very intense global race. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover 1. The melting frontier, 2. Trillions in hidden resources, 3. The global power race, 4. Environmental and human costs, 5. Rising military tensions, and finally, 6. Cooperation or confrontation. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the melting frontier. You know, we are living through a massive geographic paradox right now. It's this great irony of progress. The very climate disaster that's threatening the planet is actually acting like a giant skeleton key, unlocking regions previously locked away in a deep freeze. Record-breaking temperatures have rapidly accelerated the melting of sea ice, and it's exactly this destruction of the ice that is extending navigation seasons and opening up a brand new frontier. Moving on to Section 2, trillions in hidden resources. The prize waiting beneath that ice is just staggering. To put this into perspective, scientists estimate the Arctic holds roughly 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and nearly 30% of its undiscovered natural gas just sitting there. This immense energy wealth is the primary motive for this entire geopolitical rush, and it's a major game changer for global energy markets over the coming decades. But wait, it gets crazier, because it's not just oil and gas down there. The minerals beneath the ice are exactly what powers your modern life. We're talking about the rare earth elements inside the smartphone you might be holding right now, nickel and cobalt for electric vehicle batteries, copper for renewable energy infrastructure. You add in expanding fisheries that could support millions of people, plus vast freshwater resources, and suddenly, this intense global focus makes a whole lot of sense. And it's not just what's buried underground, it's how we travel over it. As the ice retreats, commercial opportunities are just exploding on the surface. Newly emerging shipping corridors, specifically the Northern Sea Route and the Northwest Passage, threaten to completely reshape global trade networks. By significantly reducing travel time between Europe and Asia, these routes are becoming some of the most valuable maritime real estate on the planet. This could eventually dictate the price of the everyday goods shipped right to your door. Which brings us to Section 3, the global power race. Okay, so exactly 8 nations actually share territory within the Arctic Circle. But geography certainly isn't stopping outsiders. Take China, for example. Despite being thousands of miles away, they've boldly declared themselves a quote-unquote near-Arctic state, which, let's be honest, is kind of like me calling myself a near-billionaire. But semantics aside, through their Polar Silk Road initiative, they are pouring money into scientific research, infrastructure, and mining projects to secure critical supply chains. And that dynamic? It is completely changing the strategic calculus for Western governments. And this global rush is already creating some immediate legal friction. Take the Northwest Passage. Canada firmly maintains that the passage forms part of its internal waters, giving them full sovereign control. But several other countries, they demand the route remain an open, international shipping lane for the world to use. It's a perfect microcosm of the incredibly complicated territorial claims being tested right now. So if there's one key takeaway here, it's that number, 8. Exactly 8 nations hold the literal territorial keys to this massive, unprecedented resource rush. Everything else, from foreign investments to new maritime laws, revolves around how these 8 nations choose to leverage, share, or defend their borders. Now, let's look at Section 4, environmental and human costs. Because this wealth extraction doesn't happen in a vacuum. The collateral damage here is devastating, and the environmental vulnerability is immense. The risk of oil spills, habitat destruction, pollution, and even the deafening noise of increased shipping threaten one of Earth's absolute most fragile ecosystems. Species like polar bears, walruses, whales, and seabirds are facing immense pressure as their natural homes literally melts away beneath them. And the human cost? It's just as severe. For the indigenous communities who have lived in and successfully navigated the Arctic for thousands of years, these rapid environmental and industrial changes are an existential threat. It directly impacts traditional hunting grounds, completely disrupts delicate fishing ecosystems, and threatens to erase deeply rooted cultural and traditional ways of life. This leads us right into Section 5, Rising Military Tensions. As the ice melts, the Arctic has quickly evolved into a major security concern. Military planners across the globe now view this region as a highly strategic high ground. We're talking about a critical arena for missile defense, complex submarine operations, and broad strategic deterrence. Make no mistake, this is a completely new frontline in global security. It is rapidly becoming a very active, highly militarized space. Russia, which actually has the largest Arctic coastline, is reopening Cold War military bases and aggressively utilizing a whole fleet of nuclear-powered icebreakers. In response, the U.S. is strengthening its surveillance capabilities in Alaska, while Finland and Sweden's recent accession to NATO has fundamentally altered the strategic landscape of the High North. It's a high-stakes geopolitical chessboard playing out in real time. Finally, let's tackle Section 6, Cooperation or Confrontation. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There is some hope on this front. Despite the intense rivalry, peaceful scientific cooperation has historically anchored the region. This has been heavily facilitated by the Arctic Council, an international forum that has long served as a crucial table for discussions focused squarely on environmental protection, research, and sustainable development, rather than military might. We also have international maritime law acting as the ultimate diplomatic rulebook, specifically UNCLOS, that's the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. This framework provides the actual legal mechanisms needed to resolve these overlapping territorial claims peacefully without firing a single shot. Experts argue that leaning into diplomacy through frameworks like UNCLOS is absolutely vital if we want to prevent this competition from turning into a full-blown confrontation. Ultimately, the future of this amazing region depends entirely on choosing sustainability over pure exploitation and diplomacy over conflict. The race for the Arctic is a profound test of how humanity manages one of the planet's last great frontiers during an era of totally unprecedented global change. The decisions made today are going to shape global security and energy markets for generations to come. So I'll leave you with this final provocative question to chew on. As the ice continues to melt and the world's attention turns definitively north, will humanity choose diplomacy, or will the Arctic inevitably become the next theater of global conflict? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope this provided a clearer lens through which to view our rapidly changing world.